A Mind for Numbers: How to Excel at Math and Science. The short book review includes key ideas from our perspective. Chapter 1. Open the door. When you struggle with something, you probably start avoiding it, and that's your biggest mistake. The author didn't understand math from childhood and avoided it until it became necessary for her work. So, she started from scratch. She realized that she was approaching the subject differently from others. The more success she had, the more she enjoyed math. But by changing her learning techniques and methods, she began to succeed. If you can catch a fast-flying ball, you already have the ability for math, as this process requires complex calculations. Chapter 2. Ease is the best approach. When you first look through a chapter in a math or science textbook, start by quickly skimming the entire section to get a general overview. This will only take a minute or two, but will help you organize your thoughts and break down the information into manageable chunks. It's like a puzzle. Look at the diagrams, photos, headings, conclusions, and questions at the end of the text. First, you need to grasp the main concepts or principles and only then fill in the details. Even before you start reading, you're creating subtle neural hooks for perception that will make it easier to absorb the material. Focused and diffuse thinking. In everyday life, you exist in one of these two thinking modes. In the diffuse state, the brain can process thoughts in the background that you're not currently focused on. This thinking is not tied to any specific area of the brain. Focused thinking, on the other hand, directly addresses the task at hand and is governed by the prefrontal cortex. This is why people often have sudden insights about previously unsolved problems. Once you focus on something, focused thinking kicks in. In focused thinking, the bundles of neurons are close together, while in diffuse thinking, they are more spread out. In the first case, we seek solutions along paths we already know, which may not necessarily lead to the correct answer. For example, when multiplying numbers, it helps if we already know the multiplication table. But imagine we're given a problem we've never encountered before. We also start looking for the answer along familiar paths, comparing the problem with those it resembles. As a result, we might not find the answer because the neural connections may be in different parts of the brain. However, if we read the textbook beforehand, we'll clearly know where in the brain to look for the answer. Diffuse thinking allows us to look at the world more broadly, without getting stuck in one area. When studying something new neural connections are formed. These two modes of thinking can be compared to a flashlight with both a focused beam and diffuse light. This means that to study something new, always engage the diffuse mode. In creative work, the harder you try to direct your brain, the less creative your ideas will be. For example, when you're idly strumming on a guitar, you may come up with much better guitar riffs than if you sat down with the intent to compose, focusing solely on the music. To better understand what focused attention is, try forming a square out of these two triangles. Now I'll add two more triangles and try to form a square from them. Here, many people might make a mistake and form a rectangle, but the square should actually look like this. You'll likely succeed. As you've probably realized, you followed a familiar path. If you relax your perception and defocus your attention without concentrating on anything specific, the solution will come easily. Some children solve it immediately, while professors, on the other hand, often admit defeat. If you want to solve it yourself, pause here. I'll give the answer shortly. To feel the shift from focus to diffuse thinking, try this task. Move only 3 coins to turn the triangle upside down. Chapter 3. Learning is creating. Thomas Edison held over 1,000 patents. His phenomenal inventiveness was linked to his extraordinary ability to switch between different modes of thinking. Usually, the shift from one mode to another happens naturally. It's enough to simply engage in activities that involve other parts of the brain, such as listening to music or petting a hamster. The key is to distract the brain from the task until it completely fades from your mind. Many famous writers found inspiration during long walks because this is when diffuse thinking takes over, allowing the mind to roam widely until it finds a solution. When you return to the task, you'll be surprised at how easily the solution comes or how much progress you've made in understanding it. Edison's secret was that when solving difficult problems, he didn't obsess over finding the solution. He would take a nap in his living room chair, holding a ball bearing in his hand. When he fell asleep and the bearing dropped from his hand, he would wake up and capture the thoughts that had come to his relaxed brain, using them for new inventions. Salvador Dali used the same technique, calling it a sleep without sleep.